Sir, you are part of the parallel universe, like parallel movies. So, how influential was Mrinal Sen or Satyajit Ray for you?
Well, I belong to the next generation. Adur, Arvindan, they were a little senior than me, okay, but we started making film almost on the same time. It's a long story. And of course, we have learned quite a lot from in Bengal from Satyajit Ray, Ritik Ghatak, Mrinal Sen, and many others. Sometimes, people don't mention some filmmakers' name because, media only discuss about few filmmakers. But there were wonderful filmmakers. They had a great impact uh, on us, on our learning process in a way. What happened, we have been making films for many years, almost when Lumiere brothers came to India and did their first screening in Bombay, and then it was Bombay, of course. Uh, we received cinema. And after that, so many films being made, both during the silent era and also after sound came. But in my opinion, that 40s, 50s, 60s, uh, especially 50s, 60s, had a tremendous impact when we started learning a different language. And that impact was there, from Bengal to Kerala, from Kerala, then Karnataka, many other places. In Bombay, the young filmmakers, they started thinking in a different way how to use the language of cinema for a good narrative. More or less nowadays we say, oh, it's a very good story. What story? It has to be cinema story, cinema narrative. So cinema narrative, we learned from our predecessors, and always so many filmmakers. John Abraham here, he tried to do very interesting films. I knew him very well. So I think Kerala and Bengal has a very long-standing relationship regarding cinema culture. Many critics, they did some work on Bengali cinema, new Bengali cinema with a new approach, and also new Malayali cinema. So I think, it's a long journey, but cinema has changed quite a lot. And I had seen, personally, I had seen a whole evolution, right from black and white to color, then analog to digital. In between, television came. So really, I think both Kerala and Bengal, they have tried to make very serious films, cinema which catered the language of this new art. And of course, we learned a lot from the West, European cinema, American cinema, and so on. So, in my opinion, we filmmakers all over the world, we are trying to capture the collective memories of people.
Sir started as a photojournalist and you made a lot of films. How was the experience this time?
Well, the stunt for photojournalists was only for a couple of months because I started traveling all over the country to understand our country. Because, from my milieu, of course, I knew middle class, upper middle class, uh, so-called educated class, but the rest of India I didn't know. So at a very young age, say from 19, 20, 21, I traveled all over the country. And while traveling, I did a lot of photographs and written about it, about a situation, about a culture, about a particular people and their art. So I think it's a very interesting journey where I could see the complex nature of our country, and it is not homogeneous at all. in a way, it is highly heterogeneous. There are so many people, yet the human relationship, human faculty are the same. So it was a long journey. And documentary, of course, I've been making documentary since the beginning, and fiction both. I don't separate my journey through documentary cinema or fiction films. In fiction, you find documentary elements. In documentary, you find fiction elements. So I think this division is not necessary. But people all over the world say that this is documentary, this is feature, this is newsreel, this is television serial. No, cinema is cinema. So for me, I never stopped making so-called, you say, documentary or non-fiction, because I love making non-fiction because that gives you a new idea. When you do research and cultivate a particular kind of people, their nature, their culture, you learn more. So that's why I traveled all over Central Asia and made a film. Discovery used to show them in the late 90s. It's a 5 hour long film. In that film also, Beyond the Himalayas, that film also you'll find a lot of fiction, because uh, it's also a very conflicting thing, fact and fiction. Which is fact, which is fiction? Because there are many imaginary lines. So, in my opinion, cinema, like many other arts, cinema is a combination of so many arts, so many art forms, so many expression. So, in my opinion, this fact and fiction and is also based on real, unreal, and surreal. For any art, these three elements are very important. When you tell a story, what kind of story? When you write a story, it's different than when you write something for cinema. Because while writing the story, uh, it's a different form altogether, where people who can read, but not who are literate, they read each and every paragraph and visualize in their own way. So it goes actually to your intellectual perception, then you visualize on a particular paragraph. Cinema is just the reverse. It's more close to music. It's a visual perception first, then later on you think uh, the nuances of a particular scene. Take any Elipatium, Adu. Initially, you watch the film, you realize the visual. Later on, you try to understand why it's a rat trap for few characters and the family. What is the social backdrop? So you become intrigued. So cinema, of course, when we started making films, cinema was very noble to us. It's not easy. And you make a film, those were all celluloid days. It's not like today's technology that you just click and take a picture or video footage. No, not at all. It was a different time altogether. So I think that's very interesting. I've been making film for so many years, and whenever I felt that I should make a film, I get inspired, then I make films. Otherwise, I don't.
Sir, your film Parikrama, which touches upon the human displacement and the environmental issues, what drew upon you to the such kind of Narmada Basin narrative at this point of career? Well, I have been traveling to Narmada and seen the Parikrama Vasi, the pilgrims. They do for thousands of years. They have been doing this. But in my own eye, I've seen the changes in the river because of big dams, big reservoirs. So many things have changed. There was a huge environmental displacement and human displacement as well. So I thought one day, I might make a film in the backdrop of Narmada Valley. Uh, and I made a film because it has a long story. Originally, the story was written by an Italian friend of mine. It's about a young little boy, little Indian boy, who
actually cares for the family. He goes out of his village and try to earn money to support his father to buy a piece of land. This is still there in our country. You know, your concern for your parents, concern for your family. Of course, it's changing with the time, but I think, that's the whole idea why I made. I thought, to create a bridge between Italy and India, where you find human race basically same, they're same. Of course, context is different. So in Parikrama, I try to bring a larger human context where you find the helplessness of people who were displaced and also the environmental displacement. So this film is also my own parikrama because I traveled all along the Narmada. It's a holy river and very important sort of river in our country, in the middle of our country. So that was my last fiction film. But I think this parikrama is unending. I might make another film in a different context, in a different place. So, but my concern for common people, my concern for the indigenous culture remains the same.
Do you face any political barrier while filming these kind of films?
Well, of course, nowadays politics has taken a different direction. Politics has gone in different ways, because it's very difficult to run a country like India. Very, very difficult. It's a highly, as I said earlier, very complex country. Uh, as such, there was not so much objection, but of course, some people were not happy because I tried to show that this kind of huge, big project, it's not viable anymore. That's why even in the West, they are dismantling big dam and reservoirs. So I think the most important thing in today's context, it's a global context, that how you can save your rivers, your mountains, your valleys, because vandalizing this it's dangerous. You see what has happened in the Himalayan track. So many places there were uh, earthquake, landslide, because Himalaya is a new mountain and tectonic plate movement is going on. So basically, it's a seismic zone. So actually, human race finally they don't know how much we develop. Development has to be sustainable. Okay, you develop. We have to develop. We have to create road, but it has to be sustainable to the nature. You cannot disturb the Himalayan streams from Kashmir to Arunachal. There are so many streams. One should not make small little barrage, small little power station for the local electricity, but not a big one. We have seen the sort of deadly sort of effect of the big dams.
Sir, you have worked across different languages, but what factors make them the Bengal film's distinct style and temperament from other Bollywood or the South Indian film industries?
Well, I never uh, really cared so much about the spoken words, the language. Of course, there are certain subject where language matters. Say, if you take something very, very deep in uh, in Malayali culture or Tamil culture or Bengal culture, their language matters. But otherwise, cinema's language is same all over the world. It's very universal. So that's why I made films. My first fiction film was in Telugu, Mabhumi. Mabhumi means our land. And that was a very successful film commercially. Then, I made films in Bengali because, it's my own mother tongue. Then I made many films in Hindi language. Hindi means Hindi of Bihar, Hindi of Jharkhand, also Hindi of Madhya Pradesh and Telangana area. So for me, language, language of cinema is the most important, where you can express yourself, any kind of story you love to do. Another, I love adventure. Because when I made my first fiction film, people said, "My God, you don't know the language." But in the process of making the film, I learned so many things. I started understanding the language. And of course, it's a teamwork. If you have a good collaborator who can help you with the language, you can do it. So no problem at all. Sometime back, I thought of making a film in Kerala because I love this country. Maybe, one day I'll make a film in Malayalam language. No problem at all. It's a great wish of mine. I told my friends, uh, he's no more KG George, and all my friends, Chandran is there, that so many people said, Gautam, come and make a film here. Dude said several times. Anyway, so for me, a language of cinema is the most important thing. And whatever you say, the storyline is the storyline of a cinema, which is actually framed in cinematic time and space. Cinematic time and space is different than our real life time and space. That's most important. And that kind of illusion you could create on the screen.
Earlier you mentioned that you witnessed all stages of films, like black and white films, color films. Do you think that AI can affect filmmaking process, or does it bring any changes in filmmaking?
Well, it all depends on the technology change. Since the beginning of cinema, cinema is 120 years old. If you consider Lumiere brothers' first showing of reels, arrival of the train or in the garden, there are some shots. It was shown in a Paris cafe in 1896, I guess. So it's not a very it's a new art form. But since it was based on technology, science and technology, it's kept on changing. When black and white films, black and white expressions, silent film actually reached its top and created great films all over the world, then came sound. With the coming of sound, cinema's language completely gone. It was a nosedive. It's completely gone. It has gone back to the theater, gone back to the opera. But again, filmmakers, technicians, they could find a new expression in sound cinema. So it's an ever-changing thing. So, and now we are bombarded with audiovisual, bombarded really. For all of you, all of us, since you wake up in the morning until you go to bed, you are bombarded with audiovisual. So perception of cinema per se has changed. The perception of the filmmakers and the audience as well completely changed. Because now you will find that even in the theaters, people don't watch. They use their mobile, maybe sending some message. Maybe some messages are very urgent. You need to send. You need to communicate. But that kind of pristine viewing of cinema is completely gone. It will never come back because silent cinema will never come back. Of course, I can, if feel like some people try to make a silent movie, why not? You can try. But as a market force, there is a market force in between. You have to meet the demand of the market force. Market force guides you, no more silent film, bring sound, no more black and white, bring color, no more analog system, bring digital. And now, with a small camera, it has advantages and disadvantages too, as well. Because with a small camera, you can create wonder. And it has become democratic. Everybody can really make films. And now that's why these reels have coming. Reels have entered into the situation. So cinema actually original cinema lost its dignity. It's no more because it's now there are so many kinds of audiovisual expression. So, to separate cinema from those huge audiovisual bombardment, it's a difficult job. So when I visualize a new film, I'll never use two angle. One is this, one is this. Because billions and billions, same angle images are floating all around. So you have to find a new angle, new point of view for your cinematic experience. And cinema has a capability, if you give a new experience to your audience, they will watch new experience, which they have not seen earlier. Something, it's content wise or presentation wise, it has to be something fresh. And if you study the history of cinema all over the world, different parts, you'll find that the films which were successful could really share a new experience to the audience. Another kind of films, when those films were made, they were much ahead of its time. Audience didn't understand. For instance, you're doing Ritik Ghatak centenary. During Ritik's time, Ritik had a dream of uh, reaching a larger audience, which is more than theater, more than writing. But finally, his film didn't do, except one or two, didn't do well at the box office. Later on, now we are celebrating Ritik Ghatak because he had created his own language, because he never sort of was influenced by Hollywood. But that's why, we love Ritik Ghatak that he tried a different way of expression in cinema, through the medium of cinema. So it's an ever-changing thing, and it has its own dichotomy. So, in my opinion, true cinema will survive like opera. If you go to Europe or United States, for an opera, you have to queue up. Maybe you have to buy an advance ticket a year before. So some cinema will stay, cinema, pure cinema. Otherwise, it's all mingled up. And only one advantage I see that because of, even in a mobile, it's a great technology that created. You can capture good images, sound. So the true cinema, which is very personal, very internal, might come out, and it's coming out. Alexander Ostruk was a great philosopher and a man who wrote wonderful things about cinema, wrote long back a beautiful things. When cinema means, film and camera will become cheaper like pen and paper, the real cinema will be born. So the time has come. You can make a film, everybody can make a film. You have the instrument. When we started, it was a big camera, the studio, studio system camera, and you have to take many people, and also your recording time is less. Our producer used to say 3:1 maximum, maybe 4:1. Now with the digital, people are taking and taking and taking, go on taking. That's the advantage. Also, it has disadvantages too. What? You're not very sure about your own take. That's why you are recording more and more for a longer time, and finally, during edit, you manage. No. For me, filmmakers should maintain the discipline of celluloid days and take advantage of the new apparatus and new medium, new technology. That's how you can combine. Otherwise, it's a very difficult. You feel a lot of conflict. Some filmmaker says, "Oh my, our days were the better." I don't like that kind of things. No, how days were better? It was different because cinema was only on the theater. There was no television, no other things. It was different, and that's why a filmmaker should uh, adapt adapt themselves to new technology and without creating gimmick, how new technology can help you to bring your inner expression of the same thing what I said, real, unreal, and surreal.
Then cinema is a collective memory of time. Then how does the Kathak's works, which serve as a crucial document for the post-independence India?
Yes, of course. If you can preserve it, so many things have already gone. Especially many films are not, they don't exist. So, preservation is very important and documentation is very important. Now, audiovisual document you can preserve, but sometime you never know the technology, what will happen in the future, what will happen with the hard drive. At least, we were very sure that our negatives are kept well in the film lab and they are safe. That's why we are trying to, as you said, post independence. Of course, we don't have much archival material, which Europe has, because they did it very carefully. Archiving started very just from the recent years. People are aware, producers are aware that I have to preserve our film. So I think it's a very interesting time that where you can record audiovisual, but it's not like that and you click and give it to the Facebook and that's the end of it. No. If you do something, you have to preserve. Preservation is very important, not only for your own satisfaction, but also for the country, for the culture, for posterity, I guess.
So, as you are the only one or the only recipient of Victoria Desica Award, only Indian. So, how do you feel it is important for the for such a recognition for a regional film?
Well, when I received the telegram in those days, I couldn't believe in my God, this award went to um, Bergman, to Fellini, to all great filmmakers. Why me? Anyway, the Disika committee, Madam Disika was alive. They, that year, it was given to Abbas Kiarostami, myself, and Christoph Janussi. So I was so proud to feel that, my God, with these great filmmakers, I'm also somehow I got this recognition. It's very interesting because Vittorio De Sica was a great filmmaker, and Madame De Sica had created a fund to recognize filmmakers from different parts of the world for their contribution to the society primarily. Anyway, I was elated, but I thought, my responsibilities, I think, more when they recognized with such a great honor, I must do something honest, honestly what I want, and I should not compromise with the pressure of society or any political sort of group. As an individual, I should not alienate myself from the society, from the cross current of a society. At the same time, we'll try to understand the mind, how things are changing, how technology has completely changed mindset of the people. All these things, without criticizing, you have to show it. You have to bring before the people that love yourself, love nature, love fellow human being, and we have to be more human, more compassionate, and more tolerant in your life. This tolerance is very, very important. Why we were born as a human being and why we were taught, why we were educated to understand tolerance and compassion. I think that can create a better world than what we live now. And
A lot of filmmakers considering films as a weapon, almost, especially for the contemporary or the parallel directors. But today, the interference of censor board is very vital. They are almost like a threat. They are interfering, or they are commanding to cut down certain shots and parts of the film. So, what is your stand on the regime that controls the artist?
well, I never liked censorship, never. And because you don't have censorship in television, you don't have censorship in literature, music, and many other arts. Why on cinema? Television and OTT is much more popular. I think censorship in today's you know internet world has no meaning at all. Maybe one film got some cuts released, and the same film without the cuts you can see in the internet. What's the point? Actually, in central government, after the new government came in power, there was a committee. I was included in the committee. Sham Benegal was our president, then Kamal Hassan and many some important filmmakers. We worked day and night and went all over the country to understand the mindset of people about the censorship on cinema. Now they don't say censorship, certification. Why you need certification? Finally, Mr. Arun Jaitley was the minister. We presented our work, our observation, and he loved it. He said, absolutely, you people have done something very important, but I don't know what happened to that. Things have changed after that. So, in my opinion, there's no point, and it is impossible in our country. Suppose there are some cuts were given. In interior places, you don't sort of incorporate it. So you need a huge team to monitor this. I will. That's why we said that uh, it has to be marking that this film is for adult people. These films are not for children. But censorship is very complicated, very difficult, or certification. How you manage? Uh, so I'm not really very. I think people should think of gradation, not cuts. And that was the whole our presentation, that we don't give cuts, but we have to be very careful on certain things which should not create something against our nation. That is very important. Or create communalism or create violence. That has to be careful. Some clause should be there that for this reason, this film should not be shown publicly. That is important. But otherwise, certification of or cutting some scenes means makes no difference. In Calcutta Film Festival, Ramesh Sippy was saying that there were some cuts given to Sholay during emergency, but after that, for the new restored version, I have incorporated those. So I mean, it's very difficult, if you interfere to an art, because it is very pure expression of an artist. But at the same time, you have to be very careful about the social factors, which should not go anyway against the nation or against the unity of the nation.
About your professional collaboration with your son, Ishan Ghosh, essentially sharing the Best Cinematography Award. Can you please share that experience?
Well, Ishan, when I made Antarjali Yatra, the voyage beyond, in way back in 1987, uh, he was in our location. He was 3 months old baby. So my wife worked with me. Unfortunately, she passed away a month back. She has been my companion for more than 50 years. So my children, my daughter and son, they had grown up with cinema. And finally, one day, Ishan basically was a very good musician. He started practicing music. My daughter was followed her mother's path as a designer. But I thought, Ishan has a good camera eye. I gave him a camera, a still camera. He went to Kumbh Mela. And after coming back from Kumbh Mela, he didn't go back to United States for learning music. He said, I'll stay. This country is very beautiful. So that's how he started working with camera. And something he learned from me that, do cinema, you have to learn each and everything, which I tried all my life, shooting my own film, editing my own film, or collaborating with an editor, composing music. So that's how Ishan, I think, is carrying the lineage of that kind of independent cinema.